Begonias are a genus of perennial flowering plants, but Bugonia was a movie released on October 31st, 25, Halloween, with a budget from $45 to $55 million that got the glorious box office. Honestly, it was impressive considering $41,845,508. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, director of Poor Things, Kinds of Kindness, which I haven't seen yet. Brits, the two that I have are also amazing. This was written by Will Tracy, and weirdly, I didn't expect this. It adapted a 2003 Korean film called Save the Green Planet, written and directed by John Jude Hwan, with the original title. Gotta try that.
Nailed it.
What if I did? I use Google Translate. Blame Google it. We're here with Brad, Milan, and me, and we're jumping into the 420 reviews, and I've been directed to be first, and now I'm just vamping because I went away from the letterbox. Some conspiracies are truth, some are packaged lies. The cop society forgiving those who pain. Where have flowers gone? If you want your 420, go to Loser Becker. It's here. Drop it. Ask for it. But we didn't actually say who was going to be next. So, you all have silence figuring that out.
I'll take it. A lunatic conspiracy theorist captures a pharma CEO, believes she's from space, mistreats his best cousin. WTF is going on?
Some things are true. The planet is green. Conspiracies take downward spiral. Losing grasp of humanity. Weep for them not.
I like that one. That was really good.
And we've got Bradley Cooper's trivia.
Couple quick things. For the filming of Emma Stone getting her hair shaved, she actually did that on camera. And then immediately following that, they shaved the director's head. She had to shave the director's head. So that way they were kind of in solidarity a little bit there. Speaking of head shaving, the LA premiere of this movie, you could have gotten in for free if you were bald or if you agreed to have your head shaved. So again, the solidarity of having this movie all themed one particular thing. And then
people freaking out. This is so weird. I'm just like
I mean, it's one of the premieres, so it's like it would be hard to know why you were shaving your head at that point. I mean, you might know a little bit, like you might have seen screenshots of her having her head shaved and stuff, but like you probably don't know why or everything behind it. So yeah, it would have been weird just to have a lineup of people in like chairs and clippers just buzzing their head sitting at the premiere. But hey, and then the last thing is in one of the scenes there's a picture of the Earth that's flat. But if the Earth was flat, then there'd be no way to have a lunar eclipse. So like the two competing theories don't make sense in the grand scheme of things, but that's it.
I did love it. Since everybody knows that now to it. The first couple times I saw that, I was like, oh, this is a very stylistic whatever, until it showed it sideways. Any first thoughts? I know, Milan, you went in blind. One moment later on would be triggering.
Yeah. The concept itself, I think, is brilliant. Like the intent behind it, the acting, the movie itself, I think was beautiful. I think it missed its marks though, and I did not enjoy it in the end. And that's all to say that I think it was a beautiful film, and I think like what it was going for, I think it was very thought provoking, and I was really excited for that in the beginning, but I think just by the end of it, I was more disappointed than anything, which just kind of made it to where I'm just like, it felt so flat that I was just like, yeah, now I just feel like I wasted, my time.
I felt about
other than I love the acting. So
I'm going to piggyback off that. I thought it was thought provoking. I thought it was shot. The cinematography, it was shot really well. There was a lot of confusing points of like, I'm confused on why we're going through this process, or Jesse Plemons and his cousin. I had it up. Yeah, Teddy and Dom didn't necessarily agree with their conspiracy theories as a whole, but like I could get behind them as characters and kind of not necessarily understand their rationale, but like at least how like semi follow their train until we got to a certain point in the movie where it just like it just goes off the rails, and then it just was like I have no idea what's going on anymore. And at the end of the movie, without not a spoiler,
I might take this part and put it near the end of the review or the beginning of spoilers, because and that does feel like it confirms where we're going in one way or the other. Answers the question. So I may put that in spoilers because I just conspiracy theories feel like him talking to his coworker and saying that was a work got it by their machine punished and had been some. Before we get into spoilers, I was curious to ask, are there any things in life that true could be seen as conspiracy theories? Seem well, and just asking, put myself for a long time, for our with the same compensation, better than 4 day.
Sign me up.
Better productivity than a 5-day work. I'm sure, obviously, that's not every single question why I've done that, and my imagination says helps lobby to stop federal from matching inflation. See, putting people through an extra day benefit. Have 3 days off, more time themselves, others, have the ability to protest, things like that. So, firm, something that I would call it to make sense. I wouldn't higher profits down the line, or be able to have a second job where they have more money themselves instead of universal. Has the same conclusion for me, but it's here to extra taxes.
Yeah, but then you'd pay double taxes, and then you'd also have more money to spend into the economy, paying even more taxes on the things that you bought. So I mean that
clearly they don't care that much. Like I know Andrew said, for everyone out with some money, help businesses truly care. They would pay people versus use a bad economy. And hurting everyone. But yeah, is there anything that you ever follow? I guess I should.
The cancellation of work from home is to prop up the office space market, because that would have collapsed if everybody worked from home and nobody needed to go into office for certain jobs. Then a lot of office space would have collapsed. It would have brought down the pricing of a lot of the storefronts and stuff like that, office spaces.
Except that one.
So that was the only thing I could think about in my head, but
I never.
Because there's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of jobs you can work from home. Like you could do the exact same thing, and it's been shown that people are just as or more productive at home than they are in the office. But if you have everybody work from home, then you have all these office spaces open that are now collecting dust, and no rent is being paid, and it's going to drive down the prices of those office spaces.
Make economic sense. And I know the Sweetest Thing talked about companies that own potato chips. I don't know if it's true. Potato companies can eating potato chips, which then benefits them to sell medicine, stop it. Same. They kind of talked about selling to them. But yeah, anything else like that before we get into spoilers?
That public schools primarily need to be funded by local county taxes was a tool designed to ensure that the elite maintain the best resources for their kids.
So easy. Take all the property taxes. That might help out. Split it up evenly, then they would in value.
Didn't think of it. I didn't think of that, but yeah.
Stuck. I think we could get into spoilers and talk about.
Well, do we want to do our ranking first?
Oh, that's right. Sorry, that was the one thing I was thinking.
And go ahead and remind all of our listeners of
where would you rank this on the dope meter? In case anybody is here for the first time, I'll say it starts at S tier, second to last is F tier, and then the last one is here. So it goes ayahuasca, mushroom, edible, joint, skunky, poison, is Molly. Hey, Phil. Giggle. And then afterwards be like, fuck no. Yeah, where would you all rank it?
You know, I honestly did not think I was ever going to have to rate a film this way, and I don't even mean it in a negative way, but I'm going to have to give it a
Molly.
Because I'm just like, it's probably great for a very select group of individuals. I am not the target at all, for this. So I wouldn't even know who to recommend it to if I even wanted to recommend it to someone. So it's just like, I don't know.
Brad, as the person who went in completely blind and then recommended this for the podcast.
I'm going to go with skunky joint, but with like a little bit of Molly on top.
So you did like skunky and joint and went down.
Joint skunky.
Joint.
Well, we'll go like C- with a little bit of the Molly on top, just because like this thing, it just goes off the rails, and once it goes off the rails, you just like
a joint skunky with a sprinkling of Molly.
Yeah, because this thing it goes off the rails, and like Milan said, like I mentioned it to you guys only because my first thing was like I watched this movie and I have no idea what's going on. Like I'm just mind boggling. So
God, maybe we need to watch Eddington. I went compared to my fired review of this because I saw this on Halloween for 4 movies and 4 theaters in one day thing. No car. That video will come out eventually. I actually went up. Mine originally was mushroom, and now it's mushroomy ayahuasca. I love mainly that. That would be a spoiler, but it is. I do understand, while not emotionally, intellectually, why people go toward conspiracy theories, and this is from smart. They feel that something is wrong, and then the first thing they end on some that start with and bias rabbit holes just stuck in. Like, oh no, it's just that billionaires kind of control everything. Hey, said wake up dead and the fundamentals, like something people so I feel for people stuck in that. I did slow, and I actually took notes the second one because almost the opening line had a whole new, but for that, spoilers. If you haven't checked it out, go on Peacock or use the affiliate. Yeah. All right, but going into spoilers. 3, 2.
But it just goes kind of weird, and they took weird design choices towards the end, which I thought could have been done a lot better. It almost kind of felt like they just ran out of money and were just like, let's see what movie we can rip off and just kind of AI the rest of this. So
let me just check. Did Bugonia use any AI?
I mean, I'm sure they didn't, but again, not really a spoiler, but I would say that they played off of a lot of the movie.
It could be getting close to spoiler.
what's the movie with not Guardians of the Galaxy, the one with the blanket, and they were like zipping through space. The Earth was going to get blown up, so his friend saved him. He had to take a towel or whatever.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Yeah, so I feel like they took inspiration from that in a sense, and it was like, all right, let's go with it.
So I only wrote 2 things. Opening said it's like sex, but
you can't say I took notes on this movie and say, well, I wrote 2 things.
Yeah, well, I was so enraptured. It is notes. Don't you lie to me off my face.
That's like
it's literally plural. It's 2.
No.
And
no. That's like writing a sticky. That's like writing like a sticky note. Like that's not like notes on a movie. Yeah.
It is literally 2 notes. The quote at the beginning, it's like sex but cleaner and nobody gets hurt. The tragedy of that with the implication cop babysitter hit. I think on the first time I was like, all right. Not knowing how it all hit. And the reason I put the cop is society because of the second of 2 notes. The dynamic with this cop abuser what I wrote is the dynamic with this cop society, giving the people in power who hurt us so we can try to move on and stop thinking. When the later hints pulled over by the cop, like, no, it's fine. Like, no, it's fine. Oh, it's past. Too much in that. Say selfishly trying to get actually may or may not have. I don't know if y'all have different takes on that, but I saw it as
that's the way I took it or understood it to be, was that there's some form of that. They didn't outright come out and say it, but just the way he was acting and like the way he kept making references to being his babysitter and stuff like that. So it made it seem like that, but at the same time, like they didn't come out and say anything. So it's kind of like up for you to infer. Maybe he, abused him or something like a physical abuse, spanked him too hard or something. I don't know, like maybe he teased him too hard, something to that effect. But I mean, I definitely think it went down the line of SA versus everything else.
Saying it that killed cover. Sir, stop. And honestly, someone this decade. What was it? Cops have the highest. They have. Them from.
I mean, I agree with like your interpretation of like that part of it, but I think that's also in some of the small ways where the film starts to lose, I think, its focus. And like for me, like after watching, I had to go back and be like, okay, I need to understand the source material to kind of figure out why this went the way that it did or whatever, or like why things are the way they are. And some of the changes that were made, while I understand they were made to make it more relatable to, our audience or whatever, the changes I think were significant in a way that it creates layers that didn't exist before, that now you're focusing on this thing instead of focusing on whatever that core part of social conversation you're trying to have. Because it seems like, we have this whole argument around the power of conspiracies and, the power of paranoia and, all of those elements versus this whole idea of being engrossed in being corporate, not having feelings, maybe losing a part of yourself or whatnot. It seems like that's supposed to be the core thing that you're discussing. But instead of really focusing on that, you're now focusing on this new element. Like in the original film, the sexual assault, that was not something that was involved in that original film. So that wasn't an element that you were having to think about, so that, to me was like a major difference. The character, the assistant, I'm referring to assistant because obviously it's two different ones. In this one, it's his cousin.
Yeah.
And in the original, it's the girlfriend, which is a significantly different social structure and dynamic. So like that also has a completely different element that you're not thinking about. And then the biggest one, of course, is that your enemy or whatever. And this one, it's a woman, and there it's a man. And you would think like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. But there are so many elements created in that now you're focusing on the fact that you have this woman in power who is being abducted by these men. And that's not an element that you should be focusing on. So it's like, that was just like the first piece to me that felt like now we're being pulled in all these different directions. That was not the intent of the original like purpose of the film. So you just get lost in it.
So I only found out that was the original film and watched saying black. I don't know if this is the right word. So what did you? I didn't know. Girlfriend, and I do want to get back to how it's character. But find out.
But beyond what I already said.
Yeah.
That was mostly it. Like those are probably like the key parts that were different. Everything else, for the most part, seemed like it was fairly true to the original. But just those key things being changed, again, it created so many additional layers that took you away from what the original focus was. And I guess there was one other one. Like for them, he was a working class individual. Like that was the main focus that they were trying to drive home. He's a working class individual. And this one, the focus was more so his paranoia and the conspiracy theories and such, which again is a different dynamic. You had one who was going crazy because of his, again, his belief and everything with his mom and all of that. But it's so much more focused on how that drives him crazy and not the fact that he's just crazy. Or at least that's how I took it from this version. It's this that he's doesn't quite think things through, or maybe thinks them through too much. I don't know.
But is it a conspiracy theory if you're right?
But see, that we haven't even gotten that far yet, though.
I will say, I like when we did Ted Lasso. This is a small spoiler. Psychic character. All these validated. Quite like, even if it is so industry that is charlatans. This though, I don't know why. It felt different because it was like, hey, this is not validating. It doesn't feel like it's validating. Conspiracy. They're just one conspiracy. I don't know why it hit like that for me. It definitely was already open to people disagreeing, but you're like, yeah, you silly boy, you're wrong. And similar to what I said, actually, something. Experiment sucks. Back then, I liked. Didn't feel. I mean, I know they only had a 45 million budget, but doing one set, essentially one CGI, felt. Fuck. What can we use? Suits.
I can understand why some people find the ending satisfying. I can understand why, because it's definitely one of those where it's like when it happens, you're just like, wow. But it's so ridiculous. I think, especially once you've already gone through the ride you've gone through, that you can't take it serious anymore. And at that point, they want you to take it serious, and that's frustrating. And then on top of that, I feel like it completely undermines one half of what they're trying to express, because like the whole idea of someone being blinded by corporate greed and, not being sensitive to their fellow humans and everything. All of that means nothing if that individual isn't human anyway. This is an alien. This isn't somebody who is human. So that completely negates every argument we just made about, human capitalistic greed versus the working man or whatever, you're trying to express, because this person isn't human. So it's just a really frustrating argument when you're trying to connect all of those dots. Like, just as a story, if you're just saying, oh, it's not supposed to make sense. And it's like, oh, ha, 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 ha. She is an alien. Cool. But like, when it's supposed to be super thought provoking, it just takes away from everything you've been trying to get us to think about.
So 100%, like we're on the same wavelength for this one. So just kind of back up a little bit here. I'm glad that they did some kind of ending and they didn't leave it up for interpretation. That they didn't die in the closet and they're like, she just turns the camera, winks, and then like cuts fade to black. Would have drove me completely insane. And but then also at the same time, like, yeah, because the ending was so silly and like the art design of the ending was so silly, it just felt like it felt like you're watching two different films at two different times, just like mashed them together and was just like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when everything turns into the world, that everything turns into yarn, is kind of what that felt like. It was just like, but this movie is supposed to be very serious and very like there's a tone set to this. I mean, the conspiracy theories, the kidnapping, the violence, everything like that, and all of a sudden you're just gonna like go to like a cartoon land and just like watching. Now you're putting on SpongeBob. It's just like it didn't make sense in that sense. So it really negated kind of like everything that they wanted you to think about first, and just was like, oh, by the way, we're gonna just completely kill that off and we're gonna go this direction. So it's weird. It was good that they did some kind of ending, but weird that they made those choices. One of the other things I kind of saw when I was watching this is like why she killed off the human beings was because they were so self-centered and all that kind of stuff, which is exactly what she was when she was the CEO. And then she actually
she got it.
Yeah. She realized that when after they kidnapped her, and they had everything they wanted from her at that particular time, and then pushed it too far with everything that they did afterwards. Because had they known they were right, and she would have admitted that she was an alien, she admitted that she had gone too far and that she was kind of poisoned by the human race, everything like that. So they actually had everything they wanted, and then pushed it too far, which then made her change her mind again. She just eliminate the entire human race and save all the innocent species.
Is that how it struck you? Because it struck me as in she was still playing a part, and then she didn't really show him until after she had hidden. When he comes down and she's stirred facade, he doesn't push back. But even though earlier she said the words that he wanted, and technically true, for me it just hit as he felt the facade. Something, and maybe that was she volunteered. She was the emperor. Someone. Yeah, that's what it hit for. I guess your point. It's torture.
If it makes you feel any better, the original had way more torture. And he actually blew up the Earth. He didn't save anything.
Are we talking about Hitchhiker's Galaxy or the? Okay.
Yeah, he did not save the green planet. He said, screw all of that Earth. It all goes kablooey.
I will say it is interesting to me. Like, even though it has a bubble pop, like all the oxygen went away. Before is then almost get the idea of the chemical castration are, but later when they're sometimes he'll felt like a cult. He knew how to be to his cousin. Spectrum that but definitely starts expressing his views. Seems valid. Talk to her. Talk at all.
I think it only makes sense when you remember that originally it was meant to be the girlfriend, because that's what the dynamic was designed around. Like, it's a little bit bothersome for me that when they decided to reframe it, they reframed it as, you know, a family member with autism, because it's like you're highlighting, like, granted, on one side, you're highlighting something that we know is very relevant right now in society. There is a ton of abuse when it comes to, you know, individuals on the spectrum. But, you know, you're doing it in a way, especially with the way that he ends up leaving the movie and whatnot. It's just such a frustrating light to use that type of character in that role, when you could have very easily just kept it in that same dynamic of having a girlfriend who you made subservient to you because of your trauma, because that was what that dynamic was supposed to be. So, like, and that's why, like, it's hard for me to think about, okay, like, oh, I understand where this dynamic is coming from, because it feels forced, and it feels like that's not the way it was supposed to be. Like, they got it to do what it needed to do, but it just felt very forced, literally, I guess.
I wasn't a big fan of that, of him bossing around his cousin like that, but I understood what the movie was pushing for, in a sense of, like, whether it be like cult leader, or whether it be like an abuse of a relationship that he might have, because he needed, I think, Jesse, was it Teddy? Yeah, well, I know his character name, Teddy, right? Yeah, Teddy needed a secondary partner for this, but I don't understand. I mean, it would have made more sense if it would have been a girlfriend or somebody like that. I don't think it makes as much sense to have your cousin. Yeah, I think it would have been better with a girlfriend, like the original source material, with a girlfriend that also went through the same tragedies, or were with you when that tragedy happened, and maybe she doesn't necessarily believe you. But I don't know.
I
don't think it needed. Yeah, I don't think it needed that dynamic. The cousin dynamic. I think it really needed lover dynamic.
Yeah, I just feel like it just threw it off a little bit. But ultimately, it was meant to be like to show an outlet for his trauma, and to show that it wasn't resolved because he was usually doing that same thing to somebody else. I think it just could have been done a little bit better. It was tough, like the things that the characters went through, or that he put his sibling, his cousin through, and whatnot. And especially how he left the film, you know, was.
I definitely wasn't expecting that either. I mean, just the rapidness of how fast that transcribed that whole section of the movie, which then that's a triggering
everything
point
else.
Else. But I just wasn't expecting how fast that was, because it didn't. To me, leading up to that, it didn't feel like he was going to leave the movie like that. It felt more like he was going to let her go, kind of situation, and then to have him just turn around and do that was just kind of mind blowing and stunning for a second. Just of the graphicness of it all.
I can see how poor thing. Sex. Stone. As the 30. And even if show a lot in the music video, they show a lot, and movie, I'm just like, how does that dynamic? I mean, they're clearly teammates. How does that work? Okay, this is where you're going to be. How? But it's for a great. How do we do this? Same scene.
I mean, it's. I feel like that's not really that difficult of an answer. It's like create a story that's designed for that situation. Like this wasn't, make something that's authentic to, that issue that you're trying to discuss. And that goes back to like my original argument. Is that the thing that we're supposed to be focusing on in this film? Or was it that bigger point that you were trying to make? Like, 'cause now we're having a whole conversation about something else. So what was the thought-provoking thing that you were trying to have us have a conversation about?
Conspiracy theories are real. every one of the.
It is in our fucked up. Simple. To me. In however seeing some big stupid getting the same headlines. Stupid. Two examples. I forget what time. Trump back to the COVID's not real. Part. Corey. That was part of the point of shit happening.
I think that defeats the point then. If you're going to do that, do it in your own film. Don't take something that's considered a cultural masterpiece and then try to fit it to make your point. Like that's troublesome to me because it is considered a masterpiece in Korea, so why would you try and change something that had a very intentional conversation point behind it? I also don't like remakes. Like, come on, let's just be original. I don't like remakes.
It was a remake until 5 minutes. And hell, sometimes Scarface. It's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think they needed to pay off all the conspiracy theories at the end. I know we're running this kind of like dry here, but I don't think they needed to pay off all of the conspiracy theories throughout this movie in the way that they did, because I think it just validates it'll end up validating some people's beliefs in certain things, which will drive them harder into conspiracy theories, especially some wild ones. I mean, flat Earth was kind of mentioned and brought up in this movie a couple different times. What else? That she was an alien, all that kind of stuff. I feel like there's another big one too. But by making a movie and validating those conspiracy theories, I think it just pushes people to make them more socially acceptable and maybe make more people push to those extremes. And they'll find other niches, other things that we've talked about, or things that we haven't even thought of yet. It'll validate them a little bit more.
Well, feels like we're going to be right. Felt very rousing. Moments were some quiet. Shot around their house. The one I can remember is hugely orchestral. Epic. Yeah.
My last little nerdy thought was I really appreciated the cinematic parts of things. They did really cool, like really good close-ups. The visual dynamics from when she shaves her head and she puts down Emma Stone puts on the antihistamine and stuff like that. I think they do a really good job lighting that and making it look authentic and not so much like in this scene. It looks like she's wearing antihistamine. When you back up farther, it doesn't look like. It just looks like she's got like white powder or something on. So I thought they did a really good job with like the cinematic aspects of things. I think they went a little overboard on some of the cinematic at the end of the movie when he goes in the closet and all that kind of stuff. But
being footballed in the head by his head.
Yeah, I mean they didn't need to do the explosions coming out of the closet and the the jelly on the floor.
Yeah, so I guess my closing thought here is you brush everything else away. You really just try to focus on one lesson from this film. It's essentially, don't have tunnel vision. Don't get so stuck on this belief or idea that you ignore facts. You stop having empathy for people, or else you'll be the reason why humanity is destroyed.
Milan, did you say that yours was Molly?
Yeah.
This is the first time, but this may be a Molly. It may be a
Yes.
jointy skunky with sprinkles of Molly, or it may be a mushroomy
It's a wide variety right there.
no matter what. I didn't expect this or any film that wasn't directed by Michael Bay to get a Molly for the first time. I don't know. Maybe I gave cocaine. But no matter what, because
Movies are dope.
Bye now.
little after the bye-bye now, because I forgot to ask, do you all think Bugonia is better?
As a movie, not looking at awards or how much the Academy likes movies like this, I'm going to say Anaconda is better than Bugonia, because I think Bugonia, is a special taste for a special person. You're welcome. So I would say Anaconda is more. It would be easier to recommend to somebody than Bugonia.
Definitely agree. Easier to recommend. Same.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say Anaconda. Not gonna, knock anything on Bugonia. Yeah, yeah.
And I guess one last one.
Bye-bye now.
I'm living in a movie, there's a scene you gotta jump. I got my people at the viewing who all knew me selling tickets. Yeah, they're talking about the beauty. I see Scorsese outside saying this isn't cinema. Free man, I ain't doing shit tomorrow, I don't need plans. I'll be kicking it till April off for $3 grand. I don't even need the money, I just need fans.